we doing, everybody? This is Splash of Gas with Dave Weichert, a NASCAR podcast. NASCAR would make its return to the Lady in Black, Darlington, for their Throwback Weekend. Xfinity and Cup Series would be ready to go. Storylines going into the weekend would be for Xfinity. After wrecking Taylor Gray, how would Sammy Smith be raced? Will there be any retaliation? Cup Series, after Hamlin set 11 team against the world, who would be the next to tame the Lady in Black? That's not all the racing action we will go over. ASA All-Star Tour would have their third race of the season and first time ever going to Dominion Speedway. Drivers of Cole Butcher, Stephen Nasse, Bubba Pollard, Chase Pinsonneault, and Gavan Boschele would all be ready to go. Don't forget about ARCA West. We will go over their action from Tucson Speedway, plus interview with second place finisher in that race, Eric Johnson Jr. Fast Davies bets, predictions for Bristol, and so much more on this episode of Splash of Gas. As always, we're sponsored by Magical Travel with Dave, a.k.a. Disney Dave Weichert, my father. He will be able to help you with all your Disney and Universal vacation needs. He can be reached at DisneyDaveW@Verizon.net. Please make sure you follow the Splash of Gas social medias, and now available on YouTube. All three, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, are Splash of Gas with Dave Weichert. Please check that out. Beginning with our race recap, starting with the ASA All-Star Tour from Dominion Speedway. And for the second race in a row, Canadian Cole Butcher would score the win on the Appalachian Sucker Punch ASA Stars National Tour. Butcher took the lead from Jake Garcia with 80 laps to go in the Tour's first time going to Dominion. Butcher would keep his pace ahead of Derek Thorne in the closing laps and get his sixth career win on the Tour. While Thorne charged at the end of the race, Butcher still maintained the faster pace, allowing Cole to win by a second and a half at the end of 250 laps at the 4/10 of a mile oval in Virginia. It may not have been a victory for Derek Thorne, but finishing second to Butcher still felt like a huge accomplishment for the past Snowball Derby winner, with finishes of 14th and 12th of the first two races. With Highlands Motorsports, Saturday's effort was a big step forward for Thorne and his team. The next race of the ASA Stars National Tour will be at Hickory Motor Speedway as part of a doubleheader Memorial Day weekend for the series. They will compete at Hickory on Thursday before heading to Newport Speedway in Tennessee on the following Saturday, May 24th. Now for trivia time. This week's question is, this driver won the 1984 NASCAR Rookie of the Year and has the most wins on the Cup Series all time at Bristol with 6. Name that driver. Answer at the end. Now for the ARCA West recap from Tucson. The turtle and the hare might be a good way to sum up how this race developed. Saturday's event was the first ARCA West Series race at Tucson since 2019 and was an excellent example of old school tire saving. Tanner Reif, along with pole sitter Jake Bowman, championship leader Trevor Huddleston, and Eric Johnson Jr. faded to the rear of the field during the early portion of the race to save their tires for the second half of the 150-lap race. Following a caution on lap 75 for a spin involving Tim Goulet, the battle was truly on for the win. Huddleston was the first driver to make his move, taking the lead just before Goulet's spin. Then it was Johnson who made his way to the lead with 45 laps left. With 16 laps to go, it was Bowman who took his turn at the front. With Bowman, Johnson, and Huddleston using up their tires, Tanner Reif waited in the weeds, waiting for his moment to strike. With 12 laps to go, Reif moved past Johnson for second and set his sights on Bowman. With Johnson right on his heels, Reif caught him with 3 laps left. Reif got the Bowman's inside down the backstretch with 2 laps left, while Johnson went the Bowman's outside. The trio crossed under the white flag, 3 wide with Rife scored out the leader, making for some awesome 3 wide racing. Each driver taking different lines and racing each other clean. In the end, it would be Tanner Rife to get the ARCA West win, finishing just the 10th over Eric Johnson Jr. Johnson, who led laps for the first time in his West Series career Saturday night aboard the Jerry Pitts Racing number 5, will call into the show shortly to recap the race. Jake Bowman will go on to finish 3rd after earning his first pole award. Kyle Keller was 4th, while Trevor Huddleston faded to 5th after the checkered flag. The ARCA Menards Series West takes more than a month off before returning to action Saturday night, May 24th at Colorado National Speedway in Dacona, Colorado. Now here's our conversation with Eric Johnson Jr. Great to have you on the show again, Eric. As a racer, I'm sure a tough one to let slip, but congrats on the P2 finish. What a show, an awesome 3-car battle you were a part of at the end there. Last time we spoke, you mentioned that Tucson is like a cheese grater. How were you able to put the number 5 Sherwin-Williams Toyota up front and contend for a win there?
No, I appreciate you having me back on. Like you said, it's such an abrasive track, and I mean, I love tracks with character like that. But I mean, even with me knowing it going in, it's so hard as the driver really to pace yourself when you see, the guys going aggressive early. And I mean, without my crew chief Dustin Ash and spotter Logan Jewell and the whole Jerry Pitts Racing crew is in entirety kind of pacing me on the radio. And I don't think we would have had even what we did at the end. So, I just kind of followed what they advised me to do on the radio to the best of my ability. And when it came time to go, we went for it there.
10-4. No, interesting. Was one of my next questions was on the strategy. Kind of answered it right there. How would you say the track and the car changed throughout the night?
Yeah, I think honestly, when we practiced Friday night, the track had a lot more grip than when it came around to be sunny on race day and track warmed up, and things just as far as handling really went away. And some people chased it. We personally decided not to, just thinking that it was going to cool down so much by race time. And yeah, it really, we didn't know exactly what we were getting into there. But as we were kind of riding around probably 40% effort there for the first half, you really didn't know what you had until it came time to, get the green light and go. Pretty much for us, that came at the restart. So it was interesting, but by the time we went for it, to a certain limit, just trying to save something there for the end. The handling certainly came back compared to practice, but I think once you get that many cars out there for that long, it's still not what it was in that first night of practice for sure. Okay. Interesting. We saw how close you and Tanner were at the end, and you were among the only 2 drivers to finish within a second of him. It sounded like the car was a little bit loose at the end. How was the handling there on the closing laps? Yeah, no, I appreciate you asking. When we got out there in the front, battling there with Huddleston, I knew I had to take care of my stuff then, seeing him push a little bit just because I needed to have something, come later in the race if we were to have a restart or something. Same thought when I got out in the lead, crossing the start-finish line, I had the thought of like, okay, new leader, check the box. That was first in the career. And then it went right back to the mindset of just, okay, no matter who's behind you here, just get around the bottom, slow, don't push it here, in or out, just save something for the end. Cause I would have made the biggest bet in the world that there was going to be another yellow. And so, just tried to save what I could. But even then, with about 20 laps to go, the handling was certainly noticeably going away in the front end of the car, just the ability to stay hooked up going around the corner there on the bottom. So you just had to back your pace off and keep backing it up to keep the tires underneath it. And so letting the 19 and 13 slip by there, I knew that was probably my only chance rather than fighting them to make it there to the end. And with about 5 to go, it was go time now or never, right? So it was, it was interesting to see how much we had left. And going to the top side there, we tried it in practice. I knew, it was going to be really hard on the tires because it's just much more abrasive than the lower two grooves. So you can only get up there for a short amount of time, but there's speed there while you're there. And so when we moved up there, it certainly worked to get up in the mix. You saw it coming to the white, and then going into 3 and 4 the last lap, my thought was, okay, 19 and 13 are on the bottom. They're probably going to get into each other here, so let's not go down to their door and become a catch net. And the car's not turning down there anyway, so my best bet's to run the top side. So I went in on the top, hoping I can get the power down, and just by the time I got to the center of the corner down there, it was barely turning as is. I pick up the throttle, it's sideways coming out, and car just basically was, giving me all it was worth there and then some. So, unfortunately, just wasn't meant to be. But, the tires were just gone.
10-4, I really appreciate you going over that, especially with the tire wear. Saw you taking that higher groove at the end, so I appreciate you breaking that down. What can you take away from this race, and how can you use it looking towards another short track at the end of May at Colorado National Speedway?
Yeah, I think one, confidence is big for both me and the team. Just they put so much time and effort into getting us to where we are, even this short in the season, and I think for them to see something that they can have as a receipt for those efforts is huge. Not that they doubted me any, but just for them, it's a big win. And then on my end, it just goes to show that I think the preparation goes a long ways. Like we were talking about, had a pretty good idea of what to expect going in, and then putting a game plan together to kind of act on it. I'm not sure how many people did or didn't go into that race with a plan or a structure. I think some people just got what they could right there in the beginning, and you saw it with how many leaders we had. And then there was clearly people that had enough there to be racing there at the end, hence the 13 winning it. So, the 19 was right there. The 50 had speed all night. I know Kyle Keller was saving and stuff. So from a driver's perspective, I just think it's such a close field. You're going to have to find the advantage both on and off the track by putting in the effort. So it's going to be a really fun season to follow.
Awesome. Yeah, can't wait for the rest of the races. With the second place finish, you are 5 points behind Tanner Reif and Trevor Huddleston, who are tied for first. The top 5 in the standings are separated by 8 points. At this point of the season, how do you feel?
I feel fantastic. I think the goal is, as much as we are points racing, every time we go to the track, our number 5 team is certainly racing for the win. And we're just going to continue to go to the track with that mindset. And I think that just puts the pressure on us every time to put in the prep work, right? So I think it's going to be a really fun season. I think the points battle is going to go all year long with that group of top 5 drivers there. And I got a bunch of respect for each one of them. I think everyone's in their own unique situation. And I think it's going to be really, really cool to see how it pans out in the end, but just grateful to be a part of the mix. And I think there's no reason we wouldn't have a shot at it come time, at the end of the season in Phoenix.
100%. I agree with what you said with that points battle, and then kudos to you guys. The racing so far this year has really been clean and very exciting to watch.
Well, I appreciate that. I think as a whole, everyone's got a lot of respect for each other, and it's a very tight knit group. We race each other hard, but I think there was certainly times there where guys could have used me up more than they did, and I tried to race them with the same respect, and I think that goes a long way for everyone. So it's going to be a fun season of racing with these guys if that's how it goes.
Agreed. Yeah, you in some of the other series you don't see that with the younger guys, so it's really great to see that in ARCA West. So really appreciate your time again, Eric, and we'll talk to you soon. All right.
Awesome. I appreciate it. You have a good one.
You too.
Appreciate Eric's time, and I'm sure I'll talk to him soon throughout their season. Now for the action from Darlington. Xfinity Series would get the festivities going at the Lady in Black. Full-time Cup Series driver Christopher Bell would be back in the Xfinity seat for Joe Gibbs and would be on the pole. Bell would clear his teammate Brandon Jones on the start. A yellow would fly on lap 23 for Chris Wright. 7 drivers would pit and the rest would stay out. Bell and Allgaier would restart the field to green. 10 laps later and on fresh tires after pitting, Harrison Burton would pass Justin Allgaier for the lead. Burton would win the stage 1. Justin Allgaier would get a jump to start the second stage and would be followed by Christian Eckes and Ross Chastain. With 10 laps in stage 2 left, Allgaier would have over a 4-second lead over Eckes in second. The entire stage 2 would stay green and be won by Allgaier. All the leaders would pit before the start of stage 3. 13 laps into the final stage, the yellow would fly for a spinning Taylor Gray after Daniel Dye and him would make contact. Another quick yellow would fly for Garrett Smithley. The yellow parade would continue on lap 129 when Anthony Alfredo would spin while Josh Williams and Leland Honeyman would get tangled. The leaders besides Brennan Poole, Jeb Burton, Josh Bilicki, and Kyle Sieg would all pit. Brandon Jones was the first off a pit road. With the leaders of Jeb Burton and Brendan Poole falling on old tires, Jones was able to take control of the lead. Justin Allgaier and Chase Elliott would be battling for second, as Jones would be racking up his lead. No more yellows would fly, and Brandon Jones would go on to win over a second on Chase Elliott. Congratulations to Brandon, ending his over 80 race winless drought at the Xfinity level. Moving right along to the Cup Series recap. The Cup Series would be roaring at the bit last Sunday at the track Too Tough to Tame. Who would be able to hold the prize sword at the end of the day? William Byron would win the pole and lead the field to green. Shortly after, on lap 4, Kyle Larson would bring a yellow out with a spin into the wall. Many would elect for an early pit stop. Even surprised me how early they came in. 2 more cautions in the stage would occur for incidents involving Carson Hocevar on lap 24 and on lap 82. Byron would keep it green through the restarts and win the first stage. With the 3 yellows and 1 late in stage 1, many of the leaders would elect to stay out, while many, 17th and back, would get a set of fresh Goodyears. Byron and Ryan Preece would restart the field back to green for stage 2. William Byron again would start to stack up a lead, but 14 laps in, Tyler Reddick will get caught up to second. Could he get past Byron? Starting on lap 132, cars would start to pit. 6 laps later, a yellow would fly for debris after a Brad Keselowski spin. Byron and Logano would restart, and by lap 155, Willie B would be nearly a second over Logano. Byron keeps it green and wins the second stage. Joey Logano would be second, followed by Denny Hamlin in third. After an early yellow involving the 21 of Josh Berry, William Byron again would assume his spot at the front. At lap 244 and in the heart of green flag pit stops, Byron would pit. 5 laps later, Daniel Suarez would pit, completing the pit cycle. Tyler Reddick would be up front and have over a 5-second lead ahead of Logano. Ryan Blaney, who had a great long-run car, was finding his own and chipping away at Reddick's lead as the laps counted down. With 3 laps to go, Blaney would pass Reddick, what many thought was the pass for the win. But seconds later, heartbreak occurred when the yellow would fly for spinning Kyle Larson. This would put the race into overtime. All cars on the lead lap would pit. Denny Hamlin would be the fastest off pit road, followed by Tyler Reddick, William Byron, and Ryan Blaney. Hamlin would be a rocket in the 2-lap overtime, winning by over a half second. Again, the 11 wins, and Denny flies the 11 versus the world flag. He's on a hot streak. Congrats to him. Quick look back at the predictions we made. Xfinity went with Christopher Bell. He finishes 25th after being on the pole. Cup, I went with Bubba, and he ends his hot streak with a 21st place finish. Hope to rebound after an off week. Now for yellow flag, green flag. Yellow flag, Xfinity. Tough luck for Taylor Gray after he gets wrecked the week before and caught up in another crash in Darlington. Taylor finishes 33rd. Green flag Xfinity, Brandon Jones and his crew, they were ecstatic not to see the yellow flag at the end. Another Xfinity win for Joe Gibbs, and the first one this season for one of their full-time Xfinity drivers. Yellow flag Cup Series, off race for Kyle Larson. He spins twice, puts the race into overtime, and finishes 37th. Green flag Cup Series, gotta give it to Denny Hamlin's pit crew. They bring it out during the money stop in overtime and help him get that win. Now for discussions with Dave. First topic, can Hamlin go 3 in a row? Historically in NASCAR, and starting with Bobby Allison in 1972, winning in Bristol, Trenton, Atlanta in a row, there has been 29 different times where drivers have won 3 cup races in a row, with most recently with Christopher Bell this year with wins at Atlanta, Circuit of the Americas, and in Phoenix. With Denny Hamlin winning the last 2 races of Martinsville and Darlington, can he join that list featuring many Hall of Famers by putting it in victory lane in Bristol? And he is poised for a 3-peat at Bristol. It is a track he has won at the cup level 4 times, with his first win coming in 2012 and most recently March of last season, and previously to that, the fall race there in 2023. With the way Denny took care of his tires the last 2 races, the tire issues we saw at Bristol last year, I don't think will affect him compared to some of the other drivers. Believe he has another good chance to put it in victory lane, and that is also why currently he's the betting favorite at plus 400. Next topic on discussions with Dave. Are there currently any drivers in unexpectedly must-win situations? The 2025 NASCAR playoffs truly feel quite a ways away, but September's postseason picture is already starting to take shape. The first driver who is, I think, in a must-win situation right now is Brad Keselowski. The 2012 champ currently sits outside the top 30 in the standings and is just a part of a group of several drivers that haven't even had a top 10 this year. And if you look closely at the standings, the 4 drivers just above Keselowski are separated by 10 points. And a win would take that worrying away from Brad, with tracks of Bristol and Talladega coming up where Brad has wins before. And with being a 6-time winner at Dega, can Brad put it in victory lane and put that playoff stress to bed? We'll find out. The second driver in a must-win situation right now, I would say, is rookie Shane Van Gisbergen. He is a season champion in his own right. The 35-year-old New Zealander is only rookie by name. He has a win at the Cup Series level coming in Chicago in 2023. SVG is currently 33rd in points and 80 points shy of a playoff spot. We know he is a street course and road course ringer. When NASCAR goes to those tracks, the heat will truly be on Shane, as if he doesn't secure a win there before the playoffs start, it looks like he would be on the outside looking in. We'll see how this year keeps going. Now for the next topic, can Kyle Larson secure the 3-peat? After attempting the 3-peat in Homestead, Trucks, Xfinity, and Cup, Kyle Larson will be at it again doing the triple header in Bristol this weekend. Larson has 2 career wins in the Cup Series at Bristol and 7 career top 10s. Larson's last win came in September in the second Bristol race last season. If anyone is going to stop Denny Hamlin, I think it's going to be Kyle Larson. Not sure if he will have what it takes to beat Denny right now, but he's the favorite for the Trucks and Xfinity races. Will Larson get the 3-peat? We will tell you more during the predictions. On the other hand, some complain when Cup Series drivers jump down frequently to the lower series, but believe it's only great for the sport, and iron sharpens iron, right? This teaches the younger drivers to drive with a little bit more respect. And that ends this episode's edition of Discussions with Dave. Now we turn the tracks looking to Bristol, baby. Trucks, Xfinity, and Cup will all be in action. And here are some of the drivers to look out for. First, for the Truck Series. Kyle Larson, can he grab another truck win like he did in Miami? Corey Heim, after bad luck the past 2 races, can he shake it off in Bristol? Lane Riggs, I talk a lot about him on this segment. He's won here last year when he was a rookie, and unfortunately at that time of the season, out of the playoffs. But Riggs will be looking to put it back in victory lane with a chance to lock himself into this year's playoffs. Can Daniel Hemrick, who won last race in Martinsville, keep his momentum going? Or can a veteran like Ty Majeski or Ben Rhodes steal the show? Now for Xfinity Series. Kyle Larson, like we said, doing a triple header. Of course, he's the favorite. Got your weekly Xfinity favorites and standing together close in the points. Justin Allgaier, Sam Mayer, Sheldon Creed, Jesse Love, and Austin Hill. But don't forget, Corey Heim will be back in the Xfinity seat for this one. Expect him in the top 10 and possibly to contend. Also, modified ace Justin Bonsignor in Joe Gibbs Racing Equipment. He's a long shot, but don't see why he can't be in the top 10 come stage 3. Now for the drivers to look out for, Bristol for the Cup Series. Denny. You know he's going to have a chance with the hot streak he's on. You're probably sick of me repeating his name this episode, but Kyle Larson will be primed for this one after racing Friday and Saturday in the trucks and Xfinity. With how strong William Byron was last week in the first half of that race, what can he do in Bristol? Kyle Busch, Brad Keselowski, 2 veterans, I think will have a chance if they can get their strategy close. Now for the Fast Davies bets for Bristol. Trucks, plus 550 for Heim to win. Larson's the favorite. Corey Heim would have beat Kyle Larson in Miami if his engine didn't sputter. I might be wrong, but I think this is just free money, folks. Xfinity, Sheldon Creed, top 3 is plus 350. Another solid one with how he's been. And hey, he has the most career top 2 finishes without a win. Take that top 3. Cup Series, William Byron is a sleeper at plus 300 for a top 3. If there is carnage in this one, he would be an outside chance, but is plus 1100 to win. Now for the predictions for Bristol. Truck Series. Heim's bad luck isn't going to last any longer. Think it's Heim time Friday night. Xfinity. I don't think Kyle Larson will get the 3-peat, but do think he wins Saturday in the Xfinity race. Cup Series. I'm hopping on the 11 train. The numbers line up very well. Give me Denny Hamlin versus the world. And think he gets that 3-peat in Bristol, baby. Now for trivia answer time. This episode's question is, this driver won the 1984 NASCAR Rookie of the Year and has the most wins at Bristol, all time with 6. Name this driver. Answer is Rusty Wallace. As always, we are sponsored by Magical Travel with Dave, a.k.a. Disney Dave Weichert, my father. He will be able to help you with all your Disney and Universal vacation needs. He can be reached at DisneyDaveW@Verizon.net. Please make sure you follow all the Splash of Gas social medias and now available on YouTube. All 3 are Splash of Gas with Dave Weichert. Please check that out. This wraps up this week's episode. Hope everyone has some time to watch the races from Bristol. Till next time, everyone. Splash of Gas out.